that right there, Honorable Mtambo, that comment that how can the referendum continue when it's a private document? Do you feel, and I guess you had mentioned that you would hope that there's an opportunity for this document still to be discussed, but as somebody who's been, you know, well experienced in politics, do you see that happening realistically? Do we see us discussing this document, or given that we have majority in Parliament and Senate more or less pushing for it to go through, do you see a time where we're discussing it, or is it as good as done?
Knowing the way the government operates, and the government being the mother, I mean the owner of this document, because it came from the president, and if it came from the president, it trickles down to the government operatives. I want to tell Kenyans, it may go through, because that is what the government wants. And if they want it to happen, they are the gatekeepers. They have the money, they have everything. And if they wake up tomorrow and they say they want this thing done tomorrow, it will go through. Or what we are calling is that we should not force it through the throat of the people. If people feel that they need to have some discussion around it, let us give them an opportunity to pass to have this document go through. It will require very few days for people to be taken through by their chiefs, by their members of parliament, by their MCS, and it will be done within a very short time. Time is not of essence here. What is of essence is to come up with a document which is accepted by all, which will not cause division into a country, which will not take this country into chaos, because we do not make laws for particular individuals. We make laws for prosperity of the country. And that's why actually I made that comment. Many people, and I will repeat it, that so many Kenyans who don't like paying taxes, they will hide between that law of giving retrieve to certain age limit, and they will use their sons and their brothers, and they will run businesses under those names, and this country will not collect enough revenue. Remember, we are still running short of our revenue collection. And if we do it that way without thinking or without having a discussion around it, and we just pass it blindly, this country is going to suffer. People may hate Mutambo for saying it as it is. I'm not against any particular group of people or race. I'm only saying if we entrench this in our constitution, it is bound to be misused. Okay. And we need to think through it.
All right, Honorable Canon Weda, your thoughts, particularly from a legal perspective. What's the roadmap for the referendum now that if what Mtambo says is true, given that the truth is this is something that was born out of a handshake between the president and the opposition leader then, Raila Odinga, who is the ODM leader, but given the traction it has, it looks like, you know, more or less the parliament is ready to pass the document. Whether we're going to discuss it or negotiate it remains neither here nor there. What are your thoughts on the roadmap, legally speaking? What should we expect?
I think that if they opt to, Parliament will pass it. If they opt to take it to the counties, that route again is open in the Constitution. They will be able to take it. And I think most counties will pass it. The roadblock is there at the referendum stage. And that will work if there are formidable parties saying no. For instance, if the Deputy President says no, the President and Raila and the rest say yes. That is the point when Kenyans will have an opportunity to discuss, to look at the document, because now they have to then present a bill, constitutional amendment bill, to amend the constitution, which will then have to go to the people. People will have to look at it. There will be campaigns, and that is when you scrutinize it and then vote on it. That time, the Kenyans will have the opportunity to look at it. For now, it is true that the document is in there, out there. If you are connected, you get it. If you are not connected, you get a standard media group version, that redacted version of what is inside without the issues. So if the government was to push it, it will pass through very quickly in Parliament, in the counties, until the referendum, which has to be held. If it reaches there, then each one of you will have a chance to make a decision by voting. And that is where the problem is.
All right, and okay, let's look at a few of the contentious issues. And there's been questions raised in the appointment of ministers from Parliament. And according to some, they say that this severely compromises their independence. Honorable Mutambo, do you think that this would be a reversal to where we are now, where we have technocrats who are appointed and may not necessarily come from Parliament, but according to this new proposal, we would be having ministers appointed by the executive from Parliament? That kind of, closes us back, because what happens to their oversight role?
The reason why I'm saying we need to have a discussion around this BBI proposal is that even the terminology used in that clause alone, because I read the document, it says that may, and Wenda will tell you, if it is may, the president may choose to appoint only one minister from Parliament, and that's it, and we will have nothing to say, and we will get others from other places. If we are getting ministers from Parliament, let all the ministers come from Parliament, and let that terminology be explicit and be authoritative, that it is members from, as ministers are coming from the Parliament. Because it is totally unfair to subject Mutambo to go and look for votes, use money, do all those kind of things, and you come appointing from as a minister. Then you get Weda, where he's seated just comfortably behind his office, and you make him a minister, and he's spending no point, and we are going to do the same job. It will be totally unfair. And this is where I'm cautioning the members of Parliament, before saying it is right, let us just pass it as it is. It may come back to haunt you, because if you think you will be appointed as a minister, it is the discretion of the president. He may appoint you from the Parliament, or he may take a couple of ministers from outside. That terminology alone, it is not right, need to be amended. And these are the things we are talking about. I totally support ministers coming from Parliament, because they have the touch. The cabinet should be having the niche and the know-how of the citizen and what they need. And this is only people who have gone through that. But to bring somebody who was an ambassador somewhere and he don't know nothing about how to handle the matters of seafood, and then you tell them you are the minister, go and run this. They will run the institution, and they will feel that they do not have any responsibility to Kenyans apart from the person who appointed them.
Okay.
So these are the issues which we are looking at.
All right, Honorable Mutambo, now we have the proposal of the ministers being appointed from Parliament. Which model do you think works better? Is it one where we don't have ministers or cabinet secretaries, as we call them now, that are not appointed from Parliament, or where we have all ministers coming from Parliament?
All ministers coming from Parliament, because these are the representative of the people, and the government should be representative of people, and they understand the needs of the Kenyans and the people of Kenya. All right. This is my take.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that particular proposal, having ministers appointed by Parliament? What are your thoughts in regards to those who say that this, compromises their oversight role on the executive?
Actually, you can look at the history. It then convolutes what it calls separation of powers. It's like if you have a minister for finance, he is in Parliament making budget for himself, and then he goes out to implement. Then who will ask him? Who is there to ask him, how did you spend this money, and so on? We have been there before. We have seen how it works, and we saw the confusion. And that is why we decided either we go as a parliamentary system or a presidential system. That was a choice which was made. And the problem has not been that ministers are outside. I want you to imagine a situation where there is minister for education, appointed from outside. My assistant minister, Joe Mutambo, is elected member of Parliament. The two of us, I'm not elected, he's elected, he's in Parliament, I'm outside, I only go there occasionally. You will find that when I talk, when I tell him, Brother Joe Mutambo, I want to do this and this, they say, who do you represent? Where do you come from? You don't know what people think. You are just picked. So this is something that we are going back to, which has inherent problems. And we are trying to reduce our difficulties in governance to that. The problem has not been that ministers are not in Parliament. The problem has been that the ones we have put to oversight are not doing it rightly. People are born tribal, people are born sectional. It is us to change. We change the constitution to solve problems. We are not saying we have a major problem because Professor Magoha, Dr. Matiang'i, because they are not elected, they are not working well, they are not doing what they should have been MPs. That is wrong notion. We are not creating jobs because Munez and so on is not doing petroleum very well because he's not elected. That is wrong. Let us face our problems, put things in order, priority, create jobs, affordable quality healthcare, and we move on. So I really don't think that is part of the solution to our problems.
All right, and Honorable Mtambo, maybe your rebuttal to that, and of course the question might be, ministers or cabinet secretaries are not there necessarily to run, and represent the people, who elected them. They're there to do a job. They're technocrats. They're there to ensure that the ministry is running. So if you got a professional, for example, as opposed to a professional in a certain line, as opposed to just a politician because he has the numbers, we are likely to get more mileage, one would argue.
No. This thing you call professional thing, a country is, when a country is not stable politically, when a country is not stable politically, it cannot develop economically. And you must have people who have some political know-how to run the country. Why don't we have a president then who is not a politician? Why are we not saying that? Why are we electing president? Why don't we just pick Wenda from where he's seated and say whether you are our president without going through a political process? If the president, the head of that cabinet, goes through a political process, let also those people who are seated with him go through the same so that they can understand the pain of the Kenyans. But the moment you bring people who are just coming from nowhere and they sit with you, they will not be reading the same script with you. This is what I'm saying. We cannot say that the president who is the head, you cannot have a policeman who is headed by somebody, who is a soldier, then you give them some teachers from somewhere and you send them to go and fight. They will not fight. You need to have a soldier who is heading a battalion, and then those battalions must be soldiers. People have been trained to war so that they can fight a battle. To run and to govern a government is like running a battle, and you need to have people who can understand it. This is what I'm saying. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand this, Mr. Weda.
All right. Weda, do you agree with that? And the question, of course, would be, Honorable Mtambo, before I go to Weda, when running a ministry, you don't necessarily have to be very good in politics. What you need is a technocrat, somebody who understands management, somebody who's able to run a ministry and ensure that whatever government has put in place as goals, they achieve that. Being a politician does not necessarily give you that quality.
Mike, when you are a politician, you feel that you are responsible to Kenyans. You feel you are responsible and you fear your people. Look at the rate of corruption when we had these, technocrats, when they came in. It is this high time we are reading so much corruption in our country. But I, being a person who has been elected by people, if I steal a shilling and I go back to Mingi, I will be accountable. And people of Mingi will tell me, you went there, you stole, we are not going to elect you back. So there will be some fear a little bit. The fear factor also makes sense here when we need to introduce that. But when you have somebody who don't care, when he says, even if you sack me, I'll go to be a teacher in the UK or in America or anywhere, they will have no feelings for the Kenyans. So we need to have people who have feelings and touch of Kenyans. Okay. When you are elected, you have the responsibility of the people.
All right,
and that is why we are saying you have to be put in that office so that you take responsibility and they will be accountable. But these guys, they are not accountable to anyone. They don't fear nothing. They don't even go when they are summoned to parliament. They don't go because it is not parliament which have appointed them. They only fated them. And
all right, I think I would beg to differ in that they are, accountable to someone, and that is their employer. But let me hear from Weda, maybe as we wind up on that and as we get to the tail end of this. Maybe your thoughts on this. Technocrats versus politicians running ministries, Weda. Maybe just your closing remarks on that.
I don't know what, sorry for my brother Joe Mutambo. I think one of the best performing ministers in this country is called Matiang'i, doctor. He's never been elected even MCA anywhere. He was in education, you saw what he did. Security. So what is he talking about? Very accountable to the people of Kenya. You would tell Professor Mago, the best performing ministers are not necessarily elected MPs. Ability to perform has nothing to do with your elections. We have seen elected people, Governor Nairobi, Governor wherever, you can see they're elected, given resources to manage, they have failed. I think that the president, you look around at what is called best practices. How does it work in America? I think it's America still remains the best in terms of all these things. So, Joe Mutambo, the fact that you are elected from Mwingi and then you come and you are given a ministerial portfolio, which you really don't understand, you just pack the people of this place or Seme or wherever. I think we have to choose. Do we want people to run our ministries well? The president should have leeway to pick them. If he picks the wrong person, he drops. But thinking that if they're in parliament, they are more accountable, it convolutes the idea of separation of powers and accountability. We have been there before, and we saw how bad it was.
All right, Honorable Mutambo, we want to now wind up. If you had an opportunity to speak to the president and the leader of ODM, Raila Odinga, in regards to the BBI report, what would you tell them? Would you tell them we amend? Would you tell them we take more time? Should we, move it to a different time, or do we go for the referendum?
I'll simply tell them, allow different and divergent views to kick in and accommodate those views. Let no Kenyans feel that they have been left out. And may not be possible to have all Kenyans sit down, but there are people who believe in others. And whether being a lawyer, I want to quote a Bible here, who says some believe in chariots, some believe in the horses, and we believe in the Lord. So there are those who believe that if Mutambo has said this, this is the way to go. And if Mutambo has not said, they believe it is not right. There are others who believe that since Baba has read and he has said this, it is the way to go. There are others said, if Baba has said, Baba says this because he is only interested in one thing. So we need to have a round table and discuss over this BBI before it is rejected to people. I will be so disappointed if this document is rejected by people. Because what will go out there that all the views have not been accommodated, and the politics is all about perception, and this is a political process. And if this perception is given out to people, people will believe, even if it is lies, they will believe them. So let us give them a room so that nobody will come and say, I never gave my views. So if it is the Ruto team which views need to be accommodated, allow them, give them a forum, let them address the issues, and then let these issues be looked at, and then we send a document in. But the moment you subject it to people, you will divide this country into the middle, Mr. President. And this is not, we do not want to go that route.
Canon Weda, if you had the same opportunity, what message would you give to the two principals?
I would tell them, ladies and gentlemen, our leaders, let us look forward to what is called a no contest referendum. How does that come about? Two things. There are some contentious issues that they should delete very quickly. It should be deleted even without discussions. Things like judicial ombudsman, delete those ones because they have no value. They water down the judiciary, and yet the judiciary has benefited all, including the president. I remember the president and the deputy president. One time when they were running, there was an application to stop them from running. It is the judiciary who declared them fit to run. That will be done. Second, I will tell the president and the deputy president, the bridges you are building, build them across, bring the deputy president over here, work on it. Don't bring it as a personal issue so that Kenya is more united. Number three, let us get the right timing. Now we are hurting. Corona is killing us. We don't